Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing today? It's Saturday, and it's going to be a little bit different show. So, good afternoon, good evening, good night, goodbye, good day, hello, all of that. Anyways, welcome to the show, guys. Uh, I'm running solo tonight and from the Star Wars cave at the house. Today is going to be a little different. Yo, 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 yo. It's like, hello, what's going on? No hi-fi. No hi-fi today. He's probably having a good day. But no Fernando today either. So today is going to be one of those it's going to be a weird day. Dean's Den edition. Exactly. That's a good call there. In a little minute, as people start to fall in, we'll kind of talk about what happened today and why we're doing it from the Star Wars cave, as it were. Hello, how's it going, man? But we'll still do a bunch of Q&A today, so that'll be fun as always. We'll try to get through as many Q&A as we can. No, we don't get unadulterated teen. We're still we get the typical 5-star, maybe 2 cuss words tops. We're not trying to beat out the Deadpool and Wolverine. Hey guys, is the Blackbird enough power for flax 3-way and rear fill in your opinion? Oh God, yes. That's like become one of our most popular scenarios right now is running that particular system. So yeah, go for it. No problems there. Hi. Afternoon, everyone. Hello from Maine. Bet you the weather is pretty good there right now. It's okay. I know. Hello, Bobby. What's happening? Good afternoon. Oh, there you go. I'm talking to you from Baja California, Mexico. Very nice. But all right, so here's the deal. The reason why it's this, and I'm wearing my Snoopy shirt. This is actually a NASA shirt that we got when we went to NASA a couple seasons ago. So this was a weird one, and it just kind of happened. So we went live yesterday, and then literally right when we ended live yesterday on Instagram, Paul's like, "Hey guys, I don't have anything booked for today, for tomorrow, and I'm gonna take the day off because I have family coming into town. So, if you guys want to come in and play around in the install bay like you guys do, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll see you on Monday." And I was like, you couldn't this wait till the last minute to tell you got a day off. Don't worry. I'm gonna take the day off. Okay. I'm gonna take the day off. And we thought about doing some stuff. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? School starts Monday. Why don't you spend the weekend with Sebastian? Go to Busch Gardens, go have some fun, make the last big weekend before we start school back up. And I got plenty of things I need to do. Like there was a bunch of places I wanted to go. Hey, how you doing? No Disney till the 23rd. What's up, Danny? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello, all. Let's see what we got here. Thoughts on Alpine HDZ W10 status Series 10 inch subwoofer. We haven't. I hope I don't even think we brought those in. I'm sure it's fantastic. The Z series woofer that it replaced was a really fantastic woofer. There again, I feel like Type R is the only woofer that gets any love in that line, just because some people have a hard time like buying higher end Alpine speakers. I don't know why, but they just typically don't sell well for us, so we don't really get a chance to play with them all that often. But I'm sure it's fantastic. Seems shady. Thanks, Paul. So anyways, I had some places I wanted to go today that I never get to go because they're not open on Sundays. One of the places was Woodcrafters. I don't know if anybody's been to Woodcrafters. We have one here in Largo, which is 15 minutes up the street. I'm looking for a drill press, and I was all set to buy one if they had it in stock, and they didn't. So I was like, all right, never mind. Then I went to the cheap tool store. Still didn't get a drill press, but I bought a bunch of cheap store tools, which was fun. Went to the mall, got some of the candies that I like at the candy store. Just did some running around, get some shopping stuff done. So yeah, it was kind of nice. Stayed up way too late last night, which was fantastic. Nice, but that delivery sucks. It happens. Paul pulled a Gomer Pyle. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy my day off. The girls all had plans, so wasn't like I got to spend time with them, so kind of sucked there. But hey, whatever. I have the HDZ 6.5 CS. Are they pretty solid? Is that the Hertz speaker? Man, the model numbers always throw me off. CS, yeah. All right. Let me know what that is, because I don't have access to both laptops right now to go search that. Take the day off. I would love to, but you guys, we kind of don't want to miss out. Don't want to miss out on the fun and excitement. So we're gonna take some questions. We'll try to get through this and see how it goes. Woodcrafters is the bomb. They had a lot of neat stuff, and I came up with some ideas while I was walking around the place that I'm gonna play with, the next couple weeks and just see. But as far as like a lot of the stuff too, I was just like, man, like scroll saws. Like, has anybody ever owned a scroll saw? I own one, but I would never use it because I have a laser. But like the things you can do with a scroll saw are pretty impressive, but not anymore because I have a laser. And this first segment is going to be brought to you by the fine folks at Thinkware. If you're thinking about getting a dash cam, front and rear, whichever one you like, head over to thinkwareshop.com and check out some of the cameras that they have for you. We'll be doing videos on them real soon. Really excited about that. All right, what do we got? Dean. I got the paid installer wood screw to the rear cap. Oh, with 3 screws. My Optimate made my first amp rack. Thank you. I love it. Yeah, fantastic. But hey, you got to build your first amp rack. There you go. Pretty cool. Hope you had a good time doing that. That's what happens. What is the difference between DSP versus processor? I think it's the same thing. All right. So DSP just stands for digital sound processor, or the S is always okay. Let's back up. I hate acronyms. Okay, I hate them with a passion. So DSP could be a multitude of different things, but at the end of the day, it's in our application, what we're using it for is a sound processor. So the P in DSP is processor. So I don't think there's any difference. Now, there are some standards to which make certain DSPs better than others, but there's also the 4 things that I think every DSP should have. Digital signal processor. There you go. Digital signal processor is another one. But it's probably actually the true acronym for it, because you can use DSPs for multiple. They don't have to just be for sound. They can be for lighting. They can be for anything that needs to be processed. So it's still a DSP. Anyways, the 4 things that make up a DSP are, first and foremost, crossover. It's got to have a crossover for every channel, and that is every channel. So every channel or group of channels needs to have their own crossover. Then they need to have level control. So you have to have level control for each channel. That's very important. Time delay, okay, is the next one for each channel. And then equalization for each channel. So a lot of the head units will tick some of these boxes, like, oh, it's got that, and then it has one group EQ. So it's like, or it'll have a left and right EQ, or a front and rear EQ. So radios become very close, but there's a difference between that. And then you have like what we'll just call the Chinese DSPs, which are very popular. A lot of people use the software that's in those. It's not bad. It's just what it's called. That have those 4 things, and like usually the EQ will be parametric or graphic. You can choose which ones you want it to be. They all look very similar. but I would say good 80% of the market uses their software. The company that makes it in China. But and then there's higher end DSPs that offer more selections, so more features like the Arc that we talk about, like the Moscone that we talk about, like the Helix, like the Audison, in some regards now with the update to the 2.0 audio control. So yes, I would agree with you on that one. I'm missing. So I'm hoping Nando's having a great time with his son right now. So we got an unexpected day off, and I told him to go have fun with his kid. So hopefully he's doing that and having a good time. So this is casual Saturday. Get to work. I'm kidding. Relax. Go have a Boston cream or a Diet Coke turkey sandwich combo. So I did find out Ben and Jerry's does make a Boston cream ice cream, which is actually pretty good. So pretty good there. All right, let's see what we got. Dean, what is the difference between Butterworth and Linkwilts Riley? Okay, so the difference between all the types of crossovers, if you were to look at them, this is probably something I should put up some pictures on. It has to do, so when you look at a crossover, you have the signal, the sound line, as it were, the 0 point, and then it goes down like this, or it does this. So depending on whether it's a high pass or low pass, or if it's a band pass and you're walking like an Egyptian, that point there where it goes down, that is what separates all of the crossover points. There's the parametrics at that are what change in each one. So there's a couple DSPs that do a really nice job of showing you what it's doing, but most of them don't. Most of them always just have the standard this. But that is where the difference lies. And then you have 6, 12, 24, 36, 48. And for what this question really means is, what is the difference between a 12 dB Butterworth and a 24 dB Linkwilts Riley? And it has to do with the speakers when they cross at the crossover point. Okay, if you're using a 12 dB Butterworth, there's going to be a dip at the crossover point. Now, depending on the makeup of the speaker and how well the crossover is built, some of that can be negated. You can also flip the polarity on the tweeter 180 degrees, and sometimes that will fix it, but then you might get a rise. Okay, so you might actually do the opposite. And so whenever, oh, it's louder. Yeah, but it still needs to be tamped down. If you take and stack crossovers, which you can stack crossovers, because yesterday we talked about a 6 dB crossover is a cap or a coil. A 12 dB crossover is a cap and a coil. An 18 dB crossover is either 2 caps and a coil or 2 coils and a cap. And a 24 dB is 2 coils, 2 caps. Okay. So that's if you're going passive. And in the world of DSP, we don't have to worry about that. We can just go active. If you stack 2 12 dB Butterworth crossovers on top of one another, so in a layman's word, if you put a 80 hertz Butterworth on your radio, which usually they are, and your amplifier was 12 dB Butterworth also, and you put them both at 80 hertz, you would essentially create a 24 dB Linkwilts Riley, because that's what it is. It's 2 Butterworth 12 dB stacked on top of one another, creates the 24 Linkwilts Riley. And this is something you used to have to do in a Moscone processor because it didn't have that option. So you just take two of the EQ panes and you put 12 dB, 12 dB, and you'd end up with a 24 dB crossover. Now, if you want to know, which Bobby, you've seen them, we do cover this more in depth in the Dean and Fernando's Car Stereo Clips page, where we have the whole crossover talk that we did over there, if you want to know more about that. So, all right, let me get through some of these. What's up? What are your thoughts on the Morel Elite Carbon Pro? I have a set. I love them. One of these days, I'll actually get to put them in some. I actually have 2 sets. I have the old version and the new version. Hi, Dean. Have you ever had a Maestro RR go bad? 6 years old. I have a 2017 Jeep Renegade with the Kenwood Excellence 706. I have updated the firmware to the latest edition. It works for the first 2 starts. Okay, so if it's 6 years old, what might be happening is all right. So there was an older version of the RR that was a 256, and then we upgraded to the 512. There's a little sticker on the RR, and in parentheses it'll say 256 or 512, meaning the RAM that is on it. Make sure that it is a 512. Okay, if it's a 256, more than likely that could be the problem. That is the only time we've ever run into problems with an RR, was that we had an older one in there, and it just it didn't give up the ghost, so to speak, but we tried to put a new radio in it and it stopped working properly. um that might be something to check. Other than that, it's electronics, so they don't last forever, which sucks because everything's supposed to last forever. Where do you source ABS sheets? I have $50 for. Yeah, actually, that's actually pretty reasonable. Everything now costs $100 a sheet, is basically what it equates to. We go through a place here locally, which is called Farco. There's another place called GE Polymers. But 24 by 36 for $50, quarter inch. It's not great, but it's not the worst. A full 4 by 8 sheet should cost you about $100, maybe 120 right now with the price of gas, because it is a gas based. It's plastics, so plastics are all that. So, and then the other thing too is, like, yeah, you could buy a 4 by 8 sheet. You got to cut it down, which you might be able to do, and where are you going to put it when you're done? So, yeah, it's not the worst price. Nana have some fun. I hope he is. I hope he's having a great time. I really do. Um, then lost communication with the car, odometer flash, and the radio internally won't turn on. I heard you guys talk about how the Dart had a dirty signal, and I'm wondering, since the car, well, yeah, I mean, it's possible, but if it's worked in the past and stopped working, so that's really what it comes out. If it's been working fine and no problems, then uh, you know anytime something works forever and then it stops working, somewhere there's something that broke, whether it be a body control module or the RR itself. um I don't know. That's one of those things. Like, the first thing we would do is we'd grab a new RR, we'd flash it, we'd put it in there and see if it works, see if that fixes everything. At 6 years old, it still could be a 256, so there's a chance. Hopefully that's what it is. Hello, Dean. I'm asking for recommendations on a 5-channel amp. We know you like the Kenwood. Are there any other brands that you have really liked, and why, versus the Kenwood? Yeah, actually, so correct. We do. All right, let me do this. So we stay on point here, because Fernando's not here. And I will get to this. I'm gonna go to this right here. All right, so yes, audio control actually makes a really badass 5-channel amp, and they make 2 versions of it that we've used a lot of in the past. The one we used the most of was the D51300, which has the DSP built into it. But if you don't want a DSP amp, you also have the LC 51300. Same amount of power, same everything. It's just high level in RCAs. The other one is high level RCAs and DSP. We used a ton of those over the years. That's fantastic amplifier. Lots of power on the subwoofer. Now, you can find those at audiocontrol.com. Now, Audio Control just did announce a new 5-channel amplifier, which is the Altitude 5-channel amp. I haven't had a chance to play with yet, but they just came out with it, announced it this week. Reasonably priced, going to be a little bit smaller footprint than the LC. So, kind of curious to see how that plays out. That'll be nice. The other 5-channel amp that we use in the store is Rockford. So Rockford makes the Prime 5-channel. They make the Punch 5-channel, and then they make the mini power series amplifier, mini T's as we call them, 1005. The 1005 is probably my all-time favorite 5-channel amplifier, because it's 1,000 watts. It's like the size of a carton of cigarettes. It'll go almost anywhere. I love putting them in because you can put them at the base of a seat. You can put them underneath the seat. You can they're tiny. Um, they've released it with a waterproof version of it now, which is the M5 1005, which is it's fully encapsulated now, so it's marine rated. But we still use that one if we need something like in a Jeep or something like that. The other two 5 channels we use a lot of in Jeeps also because the Punch series marine amp is I think it's an M2 now, is the prime version of that. But we used a lot of those in Jeeps. But yeah, it most of the time just comes down to price and performance when it comes to 5 channel. But those are the 5 channel amps that we primarily use. Now, the honorable mention in 5 channel amplifiers is definitely the Morel 5 channel. I would love to use it more. The reason why we don't is it's a little big, but what makes it so cool is that the 4 channel section of it is AB class, and the subsection of it is D class. It's not a lot of power. It's about the same amount of power as the Kenwoods. Just it's a lot bigger because it's AB class. So that would be an honorable mention amplifier. So if you have room, that's a really nice amplifier to consider too. All right, let me go back to these. All right, I'm gonna jump all over the place. So if I miss your question, I'm gonna apologize right now. Can you use in a DSP multiple inputs, outputs, and still have good clean signal voltage? I don't know what the box is. I don't know what that is. I mean, to multiple inputs and outputs and still have good clean signal and voltage. Okay, so voltage. So all right, so let's kind of there again. Don't really know what a cock box is, but if your radio has a 5-volt output, it doesn't matter how many times you Y it off, it's still going to be a 5-volt output. It's AC current. And if you think about it like this, if you go home and you grab a splitter and plug it into your wall, that's 110 at oscillating 60 hertz, and you plug in a lamp and you plug in a blender and you plug in the blender is the one thing on there that's going to draw it down just from amperage, but you're still going to be putting out 110. Okay. There's really no draw on sound in the car, meaning there's nothing that is, I want sound. No. So there's no real amperage being drawn. So you could put 20 Y connectors on the output of a radio, and at the end of them, if you meter them, they're all going to be 5 volts. So as far as signal, you should never have a problem. Now, when you go out of a radio into a DSP, you can increase the signal output because most of them have some form of a line driver built into them. So you can go more signal out to the amplifiers, turning the gain down, which is usually what happens. Most of the time when we're doing a standalone DSP, the gains go all the way down. So yeah, there's that. Dean, that's why tuning is hard to find. That's why tuning is hard to find, even with all the vids, crossover explanations starting to make sense. Yes, it's one of those things that until you're doing it daily or at least weekly or just thinking about it a lot, I get it. Tuning is definitely not on the forefront of everybody's minds. Actually, before we did the show, I was talking with Brian Mitchell, and we were talking about he was telling me a story he had told someone else about how last 2 years he's probably trained 1,000 people at time at Knowledge Fest. Get the show right, and out of those 1,000 people, he probably only has 10 people that have gone through his course that he would recommend to tune a car to somebody, just because people forget, they don't pay attention, or they didn't get it the first time, and yeah, it's very, very weird. Okay, on the R, is that when they changed their programming connector mini to micro? Yes, that is correct, Mike. That is when they went from a mini to a micro. Yep. Definitely update it first. Yeah. But okay, let's see. What RCA type should I use if my DSP, speaker amp, and sub amps all use a mixed signal ended and differential output? Okay. I mean, that's a tough one. Because I mean that's gonna be brutal, right? Each one of them is gonna cause noise in the other one. That's really what the issue is gonna have. So I mean, if it needs I mean, the reality is you're probably just gonna use a twisted pair in all of them because that's pick one and see what happens. I don't really have a good answer for that because all we have at the store is twisted pairs. So I have no coax style RCAs in the store at all. So if we needed a coax style RCA, I'm making it from scratch. So and hoping to God that it works right. But yeah. Dean, Metro finally released a dash kit for the 2022 Camry, correct? But it's designed for a Pioneer modular solution receiver. Is there an Alpine or Kenwood that can possibly make work? Don't want to do Pioneer. So I thought the 2022 Camry kit actually came with an option for an L-shaped chassis. I think you need to go back and look at that. I thought it did because I thought it had two options. Now, as far as big screen goes, that would have to be the Pioneer, but I could have swore there was an option for an L chassis radio in there, and the L chassis would be the Alpine because that's an L chassis, and actually the new Kenwood, what is it, 4170 is also an L chassis now, which is pretty cool. We're gonna do an unboxing for that here soon. We just got it in the other day. It's actually sitting in the other room. So I'm pretty excited about that because that has a lot of neat little options for it. All right, this is the Camry. Hold on, let's double check. We'll use the smartphone app, which is so much fun. Okay, so there's that. Get details. And instructions. Take it apart, take it apart. No, floating screen. Might only be floating screen. That's kind of weird. Yep, that one's all floating screens. Oh, that sucks. That must be the other one I was thinking of. Okay, so it won't take an L chassis. It only take a floating screen. The question I have for you is, how soon do you want to do this? If you can wait 3 months, there'll be a better answer to this question. Let's just say that 3 months. Can you give it 3 months? I'm not saying I saw a picture yesterday that was really cool, but I did see a picture yesterday. It was really cool. But no, if you can wait 3 months, then you'll have more options for you for this particular scenario. I don't know when they're going to ship, but at least we'll know. Recently installed a 9 Series Kenwood head unit and the P10. Should I use the sub level in the head unit or the bass knob on the P100 or P310? We always use the earthquake. We always use the P300's bass knob. Just leave the one with the radio on 0. That radio puts out 5 volts, which is more than enough voltage on this P300. Leave all your gains. The knobs on these things are useless. Okay, so put it to 12 volts for remote turn on. Leave everything else all the way down, crossover included. If you want to put the crossover up to 80, go ahead, but make sure you leave the boost down, the gain down. If you want the crossover, go right ahead, but leave everything else set to 0. Leave your radio set to 0 and just use the subwoofer volume control in there. Have some fun with the EQ, but that's all the bass it will do. Okay, that's it. It's plenty. Anything outside of that, it's not, you blow it. So from the news Friday about the audio control amps with spike mode, shouldn't any amp with 1-ohm be able to handle 3 sub for them? Yeah. Okay. Craig, you get to win the yeah award. 100% yes. I got nothing, but yes, You are correct, and we all said that too. Wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, but yes, you can do that, 100%. Shouldn't be a problem. All right, come over here and let's see which one of these we got. What is that? Oh yeah, they would do the arc. What is this one? We'll do that one. Let's do the Blackbird. All right, let's see what else we got here. Come down. Right. Live from the man cave. Evening. Sorry I'm late. Babysitting grandbabies. Oh, dude, that sounds like fun. I'd rather be doing that right now, for sure. Does Metra sell back camera components to go back to my factory backup camera? Because right now I'm having aftermarket. I'm having a aftermarket camera. Does my camera components to go back to my factory backup camera? Because right now I'm using an aftermarket camera. Depends on the vehicle. Okay, so the only app. Okay, so there's a couple reasons why we would change out a factory camera to an aftermarket camera. If it was a Dodge and it didn't have Dodge used for a while their high res cameras that didn't work with anything aftermarket unless you had an Alpine, because Alpine paid someone to create an adapter to go from theirs to RCA. The high 10 would work because the high 10, they would convert it from high res to HDMI and plug in the HDMI in the back of the radio. So anything Dodge or whatnot, that was a problem. Metra doesn't make an adapter for that. They always just made a camera to do that. However, Crux cloned the Alpine piece and now sells that. So if you do have a Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge that had the high res camera and you want it to work, Crux makes an interface for that now, so you can keep the camera. The only other time you do that is if the factory camera was bad, like it was old or whatnot, then we'd put a new camera in it. Now, like Toyota's, Metra does make a bunch of harnesses that allow you to retain, some Nissans, to retain the factory camera through their harnesses. So they do make that. So hopefully one of those explanations kind of fills you in. Good afternoon, Brad, with hair. Okay, this next segment is going to be brought to you by the fine folks at Arc Audio. Normally we'd be doing DSP talk right now, but we're not because we're stuck in the man cave. And so we're just going to say, hey, if you don't know what a Blackbird is, and we're not talking about the SR-71, we're talking about this cool little sexy amplifier right here, head over to arcaudio.com and check it out. It's a fantastic little amplifier. It's not little. 1,000 watts of fun and excitement. It's our new favorite. So definitely check it out. See if it will work for one of your needs. Shout out to Paul. He's miserable right now. He's doing family reunion stuff. So he's like, this sucks. And he would much rather be working. That's the terrible part about it. Paul has to be loving the new shop. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if he likes me yelling at him about like not putting stuff away. We'll see. At least we're finally getting somewhere on it, which is nice. If you guys follow, or if you follow us on Instagram, at the end of yesterday's show, we did a like kind of an update on what's happening in the showroom, which will be out on YouTube Monday at the end of the show, which I just got done making before I came on to do this, so it'll be all set and ready to go. But I mean, I'm happy that it's at least moving along. Finally, we got the displays up on the wall, because that was kind of sucked. But yeah, SR-71 is pretty badass. It is. It's like, isn't that everyone's? That to me is like the Lamborghini of airplanes. Like when we were kids and we all had pictures of Lamborghinis on the wall. The SR-71 was that. Like if you were into fast airplanes, you had your SR-71 picture. Or if you're really cool, you had both an SR-71 and a Lamborghini. Oh yeah, Ad is out at Mobile Solutions right now doing the Tom Miller Jeez, oh man, out at Mobile Solutions doing the Tom Miller door panel class. And I did, when we found out yesterday at 5 o'clock, I was like, oh, I don't have to work for the next 2 days. I went to see how much it would cost me to fly out to Mobile Solutions for the day. And Fernando was like, don't be an idiot. And I was like, I don't want to be an idiot. So, yeah. And of course, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Can we get a shop update maybe once a month? Yes. Yes, of course. It'll probably be on Instagram though, because it's much easier to walk over and do that. Probably just be something every time we do some major upgrade, because like if there's nothing going on, it's not worth talking about. Recently there was a lot going on, like we added the new holders for the boxes and stuff like that. But otherwise, yeah, we'll see what happens. Love the Blackbird. It wasn't sold on the Hertz Cento. Oh, that's about 5 months in. I think the broken everybody. Okay, there we go. So yeah, speakers are broken. Yeah, there you go. Fantastic. We'll just go with I love the Blackbird and leave it at that. All right, let me go back here to try to. And like I said, if I missed your stuff, I'm sorry. It's normally this is Fernando's, so anytime I have to do this by myself, it is. All right, so these guys are talking to each other. All right, I kind of want to read it though, just because I want to see what it says. So I'm correct in it was all right. So I am correct. It was bad that my installer had no low pass filter set on my HZ2 ways. DSP set 2500 and one below and one blue. Oh wow. Okay. So yeah. So every speaker, so there again, commenting on this without every speaker needs to have a crossover. Every speaker, believe it or not, every speaker has a form of a bandpass crossover attached to it. By bandpass, it has how low it can play and how high it can play. Even a tweeter needs a bandpass crossover. Now, the the, the question is how is that crossover being achieved? So in some cases, the in case of a tweeter, the low pass crossover, which is how high up it can play, is being done either naturally through the tweeter itself, meaning it just rolls off, or the amplifier itself can't go up any higher, so it's being turned down once it gets up there. And usually that is in the inaudible range. That's usually done between like 30 and 50,000 hertz. That tweeter is just the energy from it is going away, or it's so low that you would never know. But the most important one on a tweeter, of course, is how low it will play. Meaning, it can't move. I mean, it's got very little movement. It'll move. That's how it makes sound. But I mean, it's very fast, and it can't play big frequencies because it jumps out of its gap, and you'll just heat it up, and then that'll be it. Little tiny tinsel leads, little tiny tinsel leads. So the most important crossover in the tweeter is definitely the high pass. How low can it play? All right. Now on a mid range, there again, sound wise, the low pass, meaning how high up it can play, is very important with sound. Meaning, I don't want the tweeter in the mid range to do this and make crappy sound. But there again, the high pass filter on it is the more important one, because trying to play tweeter frequency isn't gonna cause a problem. It's not. I mean, sound wise, it will, but for the speaker itself, it has a natural roll off point where it's just gonna not try to make sound anymore. It'll sound like crap, but it's not going to blow the speaker. Whereas if you get the bottom, the high pass wrong, you're going to blow the speaker, because now it's moving, trying to create frequencies it can't. Moving it down to the mid bass, we run into the same problem. Okay, so it's always that limitation to the speaker that you want to make sure is in place, so you don't heat up the voice coil, heat up the speaker, have it move too far and blow up. Those are really important. So if the installer did something silly like that, it's kind of weird. Now, in the case of, let's say, somebody that's overthinking this and they're coming out of a radio into a DSP, and they decided, oh, I'm not going to use the DSP's high pass filter. I'm going to use the radio's high pass filter. And then, of course, you go in there and you're like, why is this on? And you turn it off because it should be using the DSP's crossover. And then now it has no crossover point because either A, they didn't explain to you this is how we're going to set it up, which makes absolutely no sense, but I could see it. Or what may have happened is he just didn't put any crossovers in at all because he doesn't understand how they work. Or it had a passive crossover in there and he was like, oh no, it's got a crossover. It's all fine. Because passive crossovers don't do the bottom for the mid-range. So they don't have that high pass crossover to limit how low that speaker plays in them. That's why the amplifiers typically don't have bandpass crossovers. Some of them do, which when we said that a couple weeks ago, everyone jumped in and said we all have bandpasses. That's great. Even the the Warhorse has a bandpass on 2 of its channels, which is fantastic. So, okay, let's get back into here. 20 years ago, I got an old AVI mid tweeter. They sounded great on display here in Australia. Why are AVIs not popular in the States? You know, I feel that's one of those age-old questions why something isn't popular. It just didn't have the right backing, the right marketing behind it. It just didn't resonate with the people here who were doing it. So, where I grew up here in Florida, we had Rockford, we had Orion. Those two were other places. They had other brands like uh, Phoenix Gold was really popular, but it wasn't popular here for me. But a lot of the guys I know is like, oh, Phoenix Gold was everything. And it's like, no, it was nothing. No one even thought about it. So it really just depends on how well they did. Apparently, they probably didn't do too well doing it here. You were right about Stinger selling the Grundig now with wireless CarPlay. Yay! I forgot all about that, but thank you for checking. It's okay. They were all at 6 dB slopes, no names, but I've saved the original DSP backup and have verified it left the install bay that way. That sucks. Yeah, that's kind of useless. Now, there are some situations where a 6 dB crossover is not too bad, but usually that's like a cap on a tweeter, as we talked about earlier. So if it's crossed over high enough, sure. Like if you put a 3.3 microfarad capacitor on a tweeter, that's a 6 dB crossover slope. So if you put a coil on the mid range, that's a 6 dB crossover slope. So passively, that happens a lot. The reason why we buy a DSP is so we can be better. Because what you're doing is you're putting either a really high capacitor on there to start that 6 dB roll off way up here. So like you're not crossing it, you're not asking it to start decreasing its energy, let's say 32. You might be moving it up to 5,000. So yeah, so if you were to try to use 12 dB crossover point numbers like 3200, but then put them at 6 dB, you definitely run into problems. But if you put it up to like 5,000 and the FS of the tweeter is 1,000, then it would actually be okay. But there again, that's like expert mode because you'd have to know all this stuff going into it. So no one's really going to do that. Pardon me. That's unfortunate. By the way, Alpine is taking care of me. Oh, that is fantastic. That is the best. I like it when manufacturers stand behind their stuff. Should I solder a capacitor to plus line protect my tweeters? Okay. So everybody asked me this question, and I'm not a fan of it. Okay. I'm not a fan of it. I don't do it. We never do it ever. If I'm putting a DSP in, I'm relying on my DSP to do its job. We use what we feel are high quality products. And I've used some questionable products too and done the same thing. But I don't like doing this. If you want to do it and it makes you sleep better at night, by all means, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not anything I'm going to do because I'm going to rely on my product. I don't want anything unnecessary there that could fail or cause me any other problems. I just cross it over the way I want it, go. So, but some people, just the same reason why you put your phone in a case, right? It's up to you. Any thoughts on spatial audio, Dolby Atmos music in the car world? Is it possible on the way worthwhile? So there is already a car that has it. I don't remember which one it was, and of course Tesla has their surround stuff. Um, Herman, which we have a video of a car of his BMW with Atmos in it. He built an Atmos system, used a home audio Atmos decoder off of an Apple TV, put a bunch of Moscone amplifiers in there with DSP, put in high speakers, rear speakers, like 21 speakers, I think, in all. It was like a 21 channel system, and it was crazy. It was crazy. Um, I'm not sold on it yet. It was neat and it was fun. I don't know if I need that in my life right now. Um, we'll see. I'm not going to discount it. I think it if it gets people interested in audio and wanting to upgrade their cars, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work because right now we just don't have the equipment to do it well. So even if a DSP comes out tomorrow and says, well, mini DSP has Atmos in it. So, but even if it becomes like, hey, we have this, it's like, okay, well, what are the other things we need? Well, we need ceiling speakers. Okay, so do you want people cutting holes in your ceiling to put speakers? Maybe not. Is there room up there to put speakers? Because you need the high effects channels and you need like rear effect channels, and so it's like, where are all these speakers going to go in the car to make it worthwhile? And if they're not, then what would be the point in doing it, right? The joy of it in a headphone is it's just right there doing its thing. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Never discount anything. Just I want to see how that goes on. So just pass mine off. She's being fed. Nice. Um, One of the 6 presets had all 8 channels at full range. This is why I hate presets. This is why I hate presets. So, audio control has the ACR3 knob for the D series amplifiers. Um, and if you press it, it'll go through your presets, and that sucks. Which is great if you have presets, but most people don't have presets. So what you have to do in that particular situation is clone when you're done with your master tune, is you have to clone it to all 4 presets. That way, if the customer accidentally goes through presets on, like they're just hitting buttons driving down the road trying to adjust their subwoofer level control, they don't accidentally go to, let's say, a preset that has nothing and lets all the smoke out. If I'm doing a sub amp, I always try to use the sub amp's bass knob only, just so that I don't have like plus I like a stop start on mine, and we'll see how it goes. But no, that sucks. Yeah, I could see that though. Okay, man. Well, have a good night. Have a good night. Thanks for coming in. With Dean and Fernando, all your help. 1500 later, now know what I didn't know. I had, and I've told this story. I'm sure I've told everyone has heard it. So actually, what you wanted, Brad, who sells, you want to reach out to Mike, um, Paragon, Paragon sales and marketing. Mike Rios on Instagram is his name, or Paragon. It's a little like Adam thing. He's who handles all the dealers in Phoenix. He'll be able to tell you who it is. Brad probably not his job, but Mike Rios, that is his job. You can also he's like I said, just find him on Instagram. He'll be there. He'll have a bunch of ARC audio and a bunch of Moscone stuff. He's who you need to talk to on that one. Anyways, what I was gonna say was that hello, is there a cordio? All right, hold that thought. I used to have a rep that would come in and we just picked up their line and they'd be like, hey man, you got any questions? And I'd be like, no, I don't have any questions. It's not my job. Your job is to tell me what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't even know what to ask you because I don't know enough about the product to ask you a question. So tell me some stuff. Oh man, anything you need to know. There again. And we would go around for like 2 minutes and then I'd just be like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Because he just wasn't understanding that it was like, please, for the love of God, just tell me something about the product. And I go, okay, that's cool. But no, he couldn't. He got fired. Let's just say that. Is there an accordio video coming out soon? Yes. So we were supposed to do that, and what happened was I gave Ken the wrong time. I screwed up. Luckily for us, though, that actually worked out because, as it turns out, the microphone that he asked me to get didn't work. So he actually sent me a new microphone. Now, since then, I've had time to go in and tune it myself and use Accordia. We just did a car the other day that came in that worked out perfect that we had it because we couldn't not have the car couldn't sit for 2 hours to do a tune. So we ran Accordia in it and it worked out fabulous. But no, the video will come. Ken is traveling right now. I don't know if he's back yet. He's probably back. So we'll get him on here in the next week or so and we'll do the finished up video for that. I can tell you it's really slick and it takes about 30 seconds. So it's going to be like, all right, press this button. Done. It's really weird. But yeah, so it ought to be pretty cool. But yes, please just give us a couple on that one. As soon as he's back in town, we'll get together. We'll finish the video up. But they've come out with a software update since so they had 2.0 and then they had 2.01, which we're playing with the 2.01 software right now, which I think is still in beta. Worked a lot better. So I feel we moved a little too fast on that one. We probably should have waited a couple months to film part 2 on that one, just because once it gets out in the hands, like they were using the mic they recommended in everyone else's laptop. My laptop didn't like it. So, and I don't like my laptop either. So we're we're on the same page there. I hate my laptop. That sucks. Hey, Christian. Oh, good God. Let it go, man. Ryan, thank you so much for the $20, man. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much. All right, what do we got here? Can component speakers handle more power in general than coaxials? No, they all handle about the same amount of power. It really just comes down to what the makeup of the speaker is. So, for example, if I sold you a set of K2 power focals speakers, and hang on. So if I sold you some of the K2 Power M speakers and the component set, and I sold you the K2 Power speakers and the coaxial set, power is going to be about the same. Maybe 10 watts difference max. If I sold you the K2 Power M component set and let's say an integration or focal inside 6.5 inch, well, no, then it's going to be tragically different. This is handle like half the power, smaller magnet, smaller voice coil. Product is the components the speakers are made out of are much less, but usually like for like will handle the same amount of power. So if you buy something in the same series, it should all handle about the same amount of power. The other thing too is most component speakers will handle more power than they're rated for. The passive crossovers on them are usually what like, whoa, slow down. So those are what can only handle so much power. You can only put so much power through those. That's where the myth of, oh, those are robbing so much power from you. Well, yeah, if you've put them on an amp that was more power than they can handle, well, then yeah, it is because they can't actually pass that extra power. So, but that's where that myth has come from. All right, let me jump down here. Would you recommend Phoenix Gold Car Audio? So right now, Phoenix Gold is only available in Europe. There's no more Phoenix Gold here in the US. The company that owns it, which is Stinger, when they bought Audio Control Phoenix Gold here was already kind of not doing so well. It was on what we'd call life support. And as soon as they bought audio control, they basically pulled the plug and it faded away into the darkness. However, in Europe, which is they still own like Stinger Global, as it would be. The Europeans don't follow the same, like they have different people in charge, and they've managed to do extremely well with it over there. And they have some exceptional products. So, in the answer to the question, yes. However, we can't get it here in the States because, right? Anyways, question: should I sleeve the RCAs under the carpet? So, we tape up or sleeve everything that goes everywhere. Does it make sense? In my mind, yes. The only reason why is because you're putting it underneath the car, and chances are you're going to not zip tie it in place, or sometimes you can, but sometimes you like there's no room in the running board, so you have to go down into the carpet. Now, if you look what the factory did, the factory took all their wiring and they either taped it into a bundle or they put it in a plastic tray. The reason for that is there's stuff and it's going to move and it's going to rub. And well, it's plastic. It's going to rub. It's going to do this for miles and miles and miles. And friction, you could melt, hurt, damage, or whatnot. The little thin piece of plastic that is protecting that piece of wire from bad things happening. So the tape or the Tech Flex is a tougher surface. All right. So if it's going in between the metal and the carpet, and like, I don't know how many of you guys have ever like put your hands down in between and like you come back bloody because there was a piece of metal that was stuck up, or some of the body epoxy that they used is like a spike, like a nail sticking out of drywall. So we don't chance it. We just go ahead and tape it up or braid it, and then I don't have to worry about it. I've done the best that I can. And now, if it somehow manages to find its way through like a crack, and really, but I did the best that I could going into it. So, our motto is to just mitigate as few problems as we can in the beginning. So, just do it all in the beginning and hope for the best. And as long as you've done the best job you can, you don't have to feel bad about it. Let's talk circuit breakers. Can you use a marine grade option for car audio? The plan is to go circuit breaker at the battery and then fuse block 18. Okay, so here's the story. Back when I started in car audio, we used to use circuit breakers on everything. All right, it was cool, just circuit breaker, because fuses suck, right? And we even went so far as to use auto circuit breakers because we were dumb. Which basically means it just resets itself. The problem we ran into is that we had to buy a car. It wasn't our fault. The fire marshal didn't know that the kid driving the car smoked. Okay. So the kid went to flick his cigarette out the window. His dad didn't know he smoked either, and it fell in the back seat of the car, caught the foam on fire. Our power wire just happened to be running right there. Now, our power wire didn't catch on fire. It was actually shiny red, and you could see it. The foam in the seat caught on fire. However, there was enough damage done to the car because it was an old piece of crap that it totaled the vehicle, and we had to pay like $1,200 for the POS car that it was. The fire marshal was like, if you'd just used a fuse instead of a breaker, this wouldn't have been a problem. And we were like, why? He goes, well, because the fuse would have blown. I said, well, yeah, but you still can't prove to me that it's not our fault. Like, he goes, well, you used a breaker, so bad move on you. Car manufacturers don't use breakers, they use fuses. And this is why. So after that, that was the last time I've ever put a circuit breaker in a car, because he had a valid point. Car manufacturers don't use circuit breakers. They use fuses. Fuses blow, and there's usually a reason for it. Now, the piece underneath the hood of the car is designed to protect the wire moving through the car, okay? So if it's not protecting the equipment in the back, it's protecting the car. All right. So we put a fuse underneath the hood, and that wire goes through a grommet and it goes into the car. Now, if anything happens to that piece of wire between where I can't see it to where I can see it, that fuse is going to blow. Not saying the circuit breaker won't trip, and especially a marine grade one that is sealed, it'll probably trip and it'll probably work fine. However, just like the previous question, I don't take any chances, man. I'm mitigating my losses. I don't want there to be a question about it. Like, I had another situation, because there's always stories, where I had a Ford Explorer. And if any of you guys remember back when the cruise control um, was connected to the master cylinder and the little gasket there would break and then the hot brake fluid would spew all over the engine and catch the cars on fire. That was a thing. And what had happened is one of our clients, that happened to their car. It was a dick. And the car caught on fire. And so I'm out there at the site and I got the insurance guys, I got the fire guys, I got everybody in there. And they're like, look at this, look at this. And I said, I don't care. Look at that. I said, there's our fuse holder right there. I said, this wasn't our fault. This was that. And the guy, fire marshal, looked at it and says, correct. That fuse is fine. That wasn't the problem. That was this. We got out of it because we had a fuse in the car. So that's why we use fuses. You can do whatever you like. Now on a boat, I'm using a circuit breaker because I ain't getting stranded out on the water. Screw that shit. Okay, so Fukuda treatment. Yes, definitely Fukuda treatment. I mean, hey, you got to minimize your losses all the time. And before we end the show, I would just like to give a thank you to Focal America, focal-america.com, as well as all the sponsors of the show. I'd like to thank you guys for putting up with me today. I know this was an unusual show, but hey, thanks for at least coming out and letting me do the best that I can without my partner. I tried to answer as many of your questions as possible. Hopefully you guys learned something. Don't forget, if you're interested, the code is scrolling across the screen. That code is still good. If you'd like to take $25 off of an IRTA2 so that you can see what is happening over your wires, check it out. Check out, use coupon code HOT, H-O-T. You can do that. Listen, guys, you have a great weekend. We will see you back here Monday. We'll be back in the install bay for more Q&A, for more fun and excitement. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, the girls' soccer team, they won their game today. And Haley informed me of that this morning. She's super excited. We're moving on. So we at least got silver. Just saying. We at least got silver. That's it. That's all we got. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys later. Bye.